In the heart of South America lay a wilderness few people in the world had ever heard of, the Gran Chaco Boreal. A vast, thorn-covered land stretching 100,000 square miles, half jungle, half savanna, shimmering under deadly heat. This land looked empty, worthless. But to Bolivia and Paraguay, they were ready to go to war for it. Both nations believed the Chaco belonged to them. Both nations needed it to survive. Bolivia had already suffered one national humiliation after losing its coastline in the War of the Pacific decades earlier. Bolivia became landlocked, a country boxed in by mountains and neighboring countries. They saw the Chaco land as an escape route, a connection to the Paraguay River, which flowed all the way to the Atlantic. And beneath the Chaco's cracked soil, rumors whispered of oil. Now you see the real reason. Black gold, the lifeline of any rising nation. Paraguay's reasons were even more personal. In the 1860s, it had nearly been erased from the map after a devastating war with Brazil and Argentina. Entire generations had died. The Chaco was one of the few spaces Paraguay believed could secure its future, its dignity, its survival. The idea of losing even a piece of it was unbearable. All through the 1920s, both sides tiptoed around each other, building little infrastructures on the land, and both sides pretended that they couldn't see what was happening on the land. They patrolled and shadowed each other, but no shot was fired yet. Then in June 1932, on the shores of Lake Pitiantuta, the balance snapped. Bolivian President Daniel Salamanca, impatient and frustrated by Paraguayan presence and by foreign oil companies edging into the region, ordered an assault on a small Paraguayan outpost. The Bolivian troops believed they were attacking a minor camp. They were wrong. What began as a brief border skirmish at Lake Pitiantuta quickly spiraled into something far larger. The Paraguayan garrison held its ground, pushed the Bolivians back, and what should have been a minor incident exploded into a full-scale war. Bolivia moved first. Its army swept into the Chaco, capturing small outposts like Corrales, Toledo, and Boquerón. In La Paz, these early gains were celebrated as proof that victory was near. Paraguay, however, stayed calm. Behind the scenes, a quiet strategist named José Félix Estigarribia began shaping the entire war. He understood the terrain better than anyone, and he knew that the Chaco itself, harsh, dry, unforgiving, would choose the real winner. His opening move came at Boquerón. In September 1932, Paraguayan forces surrounded the Bolivian garrison. Under the brutal sun, water ran out, men collapsed, and after days of holding on, the Bolivians surrendered. Boquerón sent a clear message. This war would test endurance above everything else. Temperatures soared, thorn forests tore into skin, and water was almost impossible to find. Soldiers dug into the ground just to drink muddy droplets. Disease, insects, and heat became constant enemies. Bolivian troops, many from the cool Andean highlands, struggled terribly in this environment. Long supply routes left them exhausted before they even reached the fight. Paraguayan troops, supplied by river and rail, arrived fresher and more prepared. Both sides dug deep trenches, built bunkers, and fought in conditions similar to a tropical version of World War I. Tanks got stuck in scrub, aircraft scouted and dropped supplies, but ultimately the land dictated everything. By early 1933, the war focused on a powerful Paraguayan stronghold called Nanahua. Bolivia desperately wanted to capture it. General Hans Kunt launched a major assault in January and failed. He tried again in July with even more men, supported by planes, flamethrowers, and a handful of tanks. Nothing worked. Nanahua held firm, and in the end, Bolivia suffered thousands of casualties, while Paraguay lost only a fraction. Nanahua became a symbol of Paraguayan resilience and a painful reminder of Bolivia's miscalculations. The turning point came at the end of 1933. Estigarribia noticed a weakness near Campo Villa and moved quickly. In one of the most impressive maneuvers in South American military history, Paraguayan troops slipped through the brush, out of sight from Bolivian scouts, and encircled two entire Bolivian divisions. When the trap finally closed, thousands of Bolivian soldiers were dehydrated, surrounded, and out of options. More than 7,500 were captured. The defeat at Campo Villa broke Bolivia's confidence and marked the beginning of the end. Bolivia replaced Kunt with General Peñaranda and continued fighting, winning a few limited engagements. But the momentum had shifted too far. Paraguay kept advancing. Then Bolivia fell into political turmoil. President Salamanca was overthrown in late 1934. With both countries exhausted and internal pressures mounting, negotiations finally began. On June 12, 1935, the fighting stopped. A formal peace agreement in 1938 awarded Paraguay most of the disputed Chaco region, while Bolivia received a narrow corridor to the Paraguay River. The cost of the war was staggering: around 60,000 Bolivian dead, around 31,500 Paraguayan dead, tens of thousands more wounded, lost, or captured. For Bolivia, the war was a national trauma. Veterans returned home furious, feeling misled by politicians and foreign oil companies. Their anger helped ignite revolutions and reforms that reshaped Bolivia for decades. For Paraguay, the victory brought pride, but at a terrible price. A nation of under 1 million had lost over 30,000 men. Heroes like Estigarribia became legends, but political instability soon followed, and the Chaco itself, that desolate wilderness of thorns, dust, and shadows, finally fell silent. Today, the Chaco War stands as the bloodiest conflict in South America's 20th century. A war fought not just between armies, but against nature, thirst, and the limits of human endurance. A war born in the heat of a forgotten frontier and remembered as a lesson in survival.